Chosen one. Heaven has been whispering your name long before you ever learned to pray. You were not an afterthought. You were not selected by chance. The breath that fills your lungs today carries the same divine signature that hovered over the waters in Genesis. You are the echo of divine intention, a living prophecy wearing human skin. Listen closely, for this is not a coincidence. This is a divine summons. You have felt it, haven't you? The pull that never lets you rest like others. The sense that you are not like them. While they move through life without question, you've always felt the invisible hand tugging at your heart. You've wondered why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why silence lasted so long. The truth is, God was marking you while you thought He was ignoring you. You were being separated, not rejected. You were being sanctified, not forgotten. When you walk through crowds, unseen eyes follow you. Heaven knows your footsteps. Every hardship you've endured was not punishment, it was positioning. Every delay, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was part of the sculpting. The Almighty has a way of carving His chosen vessels through the friction of time. When you cried, He counted your tears. When you broke, He saw the gold forming in the cracks. You have been tested in hidden rooms so you can stand in open spaces. Do you know why God only selected you? Because not everyone can carry what you carry. Others crave comfort, but you crave calling. Others chase attention, but you chase purpose. When the multitude sought blessings, you sought His face. Heaven saw that difference. And that's why the mantle landed on your shoulders. Your loneliness was not punishment, it was preparation. You were set apart to be a conduit, not a consumer. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Chosen one. That light in you terrifies darkness. Demons recognize it before people do. That is why you have faced resistance from the beginning. It was never about who disliked you, but what they sensed in you. The enemy attacks potential, not mediocrity. Hell saw your future long before you did, and it trembled. That's why the attacks intensified right before your awakening. Every disappointment was spiritual warfare in disguise. Now heaven is saying, rise. Stop hiding. Stop shrinking. Stop questioning whether you are worthy. You were chosen not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. Your obedience is the key that unlocks divine favor. The moment you start walking in faith instead of fear, the chains that once bound, you will become your testimony. You are not reading this by accident. Heaven has orchestrated this exact moment to remind you of who you are. You are a voice, not an echo. You are a vessel, not a victim. You are a firebrand pulled from the flame to ignite others. What has been dormant in you is about to awaken, because the appointed time has come. Beloved, the first step is acknowledgement. Acknowledge that you have been chosen. Acknowledge that your story has divine fingerprints all over it. When you recognize your calling, heaven responds. When you say, yes, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead breathes courage into your bones. The next time doubt whispers, remember who called you. The God who hung the stars also numbered your hairs. The same voice that commanded galaxies into being spoke your destiny into existence. So, Lift your head. Chosen one. Walk with the authority of one who knows they are sent. Your light is not arrogance, it is assignment. You were made to shine where others compromise. Now, before you scroll away, I want you to pause. This is your moment to step into agreement with heaven. Type 777 inches. The comments right now as a prophetic act that you receive this word. It's not superstition, it's symbolism. 7 is the number of divine completion. And by declaring it, you are saying, I align with heaven's purpose for my life. If this message resonates with your spirit, like, share, and subscribe so that this word continues to echo across the earth. There are other chosen ones waiting to hear what you have just felt. Be the link that connects heaven's call to another heart. You are not just surviving, you are being summoned. The same voice that called Abraham, Moses, and Esther now calls your name. And you, chosen one, are answering. You remember the moments they turned away, don't you? The times when you gave your best and it was still not enough for them. You replayed conversations in your mind, wondering what you could have said differently, how you could have made them stay. Yet every rejection was a rerouting from heaven, a redirection of destiny. What felt like abandonment was actually protection. God was not punishing you, He was purifying your circle. The furnace of rejection, chosen one, was never meant to destroy you. It was designed to separate the real from the counterfeit, the temporary from the eternal. You thought they were walking away from you, but in truth, God was removing them so your heart could make space for His glory. The ones who misunderstood your worth were not meant to carry the next chapter of your story. You asked, why me? Why must I always be the one who loses? Heaven replied, because only the chosen can handle divine pruning. Every tear watered the soil of your next season. Every betrayal broke chains that comfort once kept locked. Those who left were part of your wilderness, but not part of your promised land. The pain you felt was not random. It was sacred fire, the kind that melts away pride, fear, and dependency on others' approval. God had to remove your reliance on people so you could learn to lean entirely on Him. You could not carry your destiny while still carrying everyone's opinion. That's why doors shut so suddenly. Why relationships crumbled without warning. Why silence echoed louder than applause. It was all holy orchestration. When you stood alone, heaven stood beside you. When you cried yourself to sleep, angels recorded every tear as intercession. You thought it was the end of your story, but it was the beginning of your revelation. For only in the absence of affirmation do you learn to hear the voice of God clearly. He allowed the rejection so that your ears could tune to heaven's frequency. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 34, Verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Yes, chosen one, you have been brokenhearted, but in that breaking, a new rhythm of grace was born. The shattering was necessary to release the fragrance within. You are the alabaster jar, beautiful when whole, powerful only when broken. Through your cracks, His light escapes and touches lives you will never even meet. Every wound you carry holds wisdom. Every scar testifies that you survived what was meant to silence you. Do not curse the furnace that forged your faith. The fire you faced is the same fire that anointed you. While others ran from the flames, you stayed. and that is why your faith now burns brighter than theirs. Rejection was never a sign of your inadequacy, it was proof of your selection. God only refines gold that He intends to use. If you felt pressed, it was because you were precious. The enemy wanted to convince you that you were forgotten, but heaven has been watching every moment, preparing to reveal you when the timing is right. There is a pattern in your pain. Every loss pushed you closer to purpose. Every ending was an invitation to trust deeper. The people who left did not disqualify you, they positioned you. The silence that frightened you was God's classroom. He was teaching you to hear His whisper amid the noise. You are not bitter, you are becoming better. You are not broken, you are being built. The tears you shed were not wasted, they were baptisms of transformation. Rejection was the door that opened revelation. Now, when you look back, you can see it, can't you? How each closed door guided you here, to this moment of awakening. The pain that once paralyzed you now propels you. You no longer chase after those who left. You thank God for their exit, because had they stayed, you would have never discovered the strength that only solitude can awaken. So, lift your head, chosen one. The ashes you wear are not shame, they are proof you survived the fire. The hands that once trembled with fear now carry the authority of resilience. You are walking out of rejection, carrying revelation. You are stepping forward not as a victim, but as a vessel. The furnace did not burn you, it branded you. And that mark upon your soul is the seal of heaven, declaring that you belong not to the crowd, but to the King. There were years when heaven seemed silent. Weren't there? Chosen one, when your prayers felt like whispers vanishing into an empty sky, you watched others advance while you stood still. You questioned if you were forgotten, yet it was in those quiet, hidden years that heaven was doing its deepest work. The silence was not abandonment, it was incubation. God was not ignoring you, He was shaping you in secret. The hidden years, these are the seasons no one applauds. They are the years when the anointing grows roots beneath the soil. Invisible to human eyes, you wanted fruit, but God was growing foundations. He was preparing you to handle the weight of what's coming. Public purpose always requires private pruning. The oil that will one day flow through you had to be pressed in secret first. Do you remember how isolated you felt? You looked around and found no one who understood your language, your dreams, your fire. That isolation was not punishment, it was consecration. When others celebrated visibility, God celebrated your invisibility. He hid you, not to diminish you, but to develop you. You are a seed planted deep where no spotlight reaches. And when the time comes, your blooming will be undeniable. Hiddenness is heaven's strategy. When David was anointed king, he did not sit on a throne. The next day, he returned to the fields. When Joseph dreamed of leadership, he found himself in a pit, then a prison. But what seemed like delay was destiny in disguise. God hides His treasures until they are unbreakable. That's why you had to spend years unseen. Visibility too soon could have destroyed you. You wanted to be recognized, but God wanted you to be refined. You longed to be understood, but He needed you to be unshakable. You cried, "Lord, why am I invisible?" And heaven answered, "Because I'm making you immortal to doubt." Those hidden years are where faith learns to breathe without applause, where vision survives without validation, according to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. This is the call of the chosen, to trust the unseen hand, even when every visible sign says otherwise. To keep building when no one watches. To keep praying when no one replies. To believe that silence does not mean separation, but sanctification. The hidden years are holy years. They strip away pride, teach humility, and birth endurance. You see, the hidden place is not a prison. It is a forge. It is where warriors are shaped before they ever touch the battlefield. The loneliness that once wounded you was training you to walk by revelation, not by recognition. The people who forgot you were actually part of your protection. If they had celebrated you too soon, they might have stolen what heaven was still perfecting. Even now, as you read these words, your spirit knows the truth. You are not behind. You are right on schedule. The timeline of heaven does not bend to the pressure of men. You are in the secret chamber of preparation. And when the appointed time comes, nothing and no one will be able to contain the unveiling of your purpose. And when that day arrives, those who once doubted you will marvel at what was hidden in plain sight. They will see that the waiting was not wasted, that every silent night was a chapter in your divine apprenticeship. The anointing that costs you everything will make sense then. You will look back and realize that God's silence was the sound of your roots growing deep. Chosen one, don't despise these hidden years. They are sacred. Heaven is still writing your story. And the next chapter will reveal why the silence lasted so long. The pain you endured in secret will become power in public. The tears you shed alone will one day baptize nations in hope. Before this moment fades, write these words as a declaration of faith. I still trust. Type that simple phrase below, not for others to see, but for heaven to record. It is a seal of surrender, a prophetic agreement that even in the unseen, you will remain steadfast. When you type those words, it is as if you are building an altar in the digital wilderness, a sign that though you are hidden, you are not lost. You are still chosen. You feel it stirring inside you. Don't you? Chosen one, that subtle yet unmistakable movement within your spirit. It is not imagination. It is the awakening of the mantle. What has slept inside you for years is beginning to rise. The call that once whispered is now beginning to roar. The same fire that spoke to Moses from the bush is flickering again. But this time, within you, there comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the divine assignment begins to manifest from the inside out. You may not even fully understand it yet, but heaven does. You wake up and sense something has shifted. You can't return to ordinary conversations or trivial pursuits. Your spirit no longer fits into the mold of who you used to be. You crave something purer, deeper, holier. That is the mantle waking up. The mantle is not an object you wear, it is a realm you carry. It is the invisible weight of divine authority that begins to rest on your shoulders. It draws both heaven's attention and hell's opposition. When it stirs, everything around you begins to react. Some people will feel drawn to you without knowing why, and others will turn away in discomfort. The presence of the mantle reveals what cannot coexist with your next season. You may have noticed how the same activities that once satisfied you now feel empty. That is not boredom, it is transformation. Heaven is expanding your capacity. The things that once entertained you no longer fit your calling. You are being rewired for purpose. God is reclaiming your focus, pulling you away from distractions that could dilute your anointing. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." That verse is more than a promise. It is a prophecy over your life. What has been dormant will awaken at the appointed time. The mantle within you cannot be rushed or forced. It unfolds under divine timing. When the moment is right, the very atmosphere around you will shift. People will notice something different, not by your words, but by your presence. That is what happens when divine purpose begins to radiate through human form. But understand this, the awakening of a mantle always comes with confrontation. As soon as heaven calls your name, darkness begins to react. The enemy senses movement in the spirit realm and rushes to distract, discourage, or detour you. That sudden wave of warfare you felt lately is not coincidence, it's confirmation. It's a sign that your spiritual frequency has changed, and hell is trembling because it knows your awakening is near. The enemy attacks what he fears, and he fears your obedience. He fears what happens when you finally realize who you are, because once you step into alignment with heaven, your very presence becomes a weapon. Every prayer you speak cuts through the atmosphere like lightning. Every step you take shifts spiritual territory. You are not powerless, you are being positioned. The mantle is not just authority, it is responsibility. It means you no longer live for yourself. Your words become assignments. Your actions become messages. When you speak, chains break. When you move, atmospheres shift. You carry answers inside you for battles you haven't even seen yet. That's why the refining process was so severe, because what rests on your shoulders must be able to withstand the weight of glory. Do not shrink from the stirring within you. You have prayed for purpose, and this is heaven's response. The shaking you feel is not confusion, it's calibration. God is aligning your heart with His. The gifts that seemed silent are about to activate. Dreams that once felt distant will begin to reappear. Every spiritual sense within you is being sharpened to operate in clarity and power. You are being summoned to rise in authority. When the mantle awakens, you begin to see through illusions, discern truth from deception, and walk in divine confidence. The noise around you cannot drown out the voice within you anymore. You begin to sense when to move, when to wait, when to speak, and when to be still. You are learning the rhythm of heaven's heartbeat. There is a sacred weight resting on you now. Chosen one, you are not the same as you were yesterday. The hand of God is upon you. Steady, but undeniable. Do not fear it. Embrace it. The awakening of your mantle means the fulfillment of promises is near. You are being trusted with influence, not for recognition, but for redemption. Every pain, every lesson, every hidden year has been leading to this stirring moment. Heaven has begun to whisper your name across dimensions. Angels are aligning to your next assignment. The mantle is alive, breathing, ready. And you, chosen one, are finally ready to carry it. When your mantle awakens, chosen one, it does not bring peace. First, it brings collision. You begin to feel the clash between two unseen kingdoms. Light and darkness have both noticed you. You are not invisible anymore. Every step you take now echoes in the spirit realm. Heaven celebrates your rising, but hell trembles at it. The clash of two kingdoms is not a poetic phrase, it is the reality of your calling. The moment you said yes to purpose, you declared war without realizing it. The light within you disturbs the shadows that once felt safe around you. That is why tension has increased. That is why confusion has tried to fog your clarity. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more resistance you will face. You may not see it with your eyes, but the evidence surrounds you. The sudden storms, the unexpected opposition, the spiritual fatigue, they are proof of your significance. You are no longer a bystander in the battle. You have become a target and a torch. The same power that raised the dead now flows through your prayers. And darkness cannot remain comfortable around that. You have wondered, why does it feel so heavy? Because light always carries weight. You are not fighting for survival, you are fighting for territory. You are the bridge between two realms. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness, light wins. Every time you love when it's easier to hate, heaven advances. Every time you keep faith when everything screams, give up, darkness loses ground. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 20, verse 4. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to give you victory. So do not mistake warfare for weakness. The battle around you is evidence of the greatness within you. You are being trained in combat that few understand: spiritual endurance, divine focus, unwavering trust. While others run from the storm, you learn to command it. Think of yourself as a lighthouse standing in the tempest. Waves crash against your base. Winds howl without mercy. But the light at your summit keeps burning. Ships far away depend on that glow, even when you don't see them. In the same way, your perseverance is guiding souls you may never meet. The warfare you endure is never wasted. Your pain is producing illumination. And in this sacred struggle, you are not alone. Heaven is not asking you to fight empty-handed. Angels have been assigned to your steps. Divine reinforcements surround you. Every prayer you whisper releases strategy. Every tear you shed becomes a signal flare in the spirit, drawing the attention of the armies of light. The battle you are in is not about your defeat, it's about your unveiling. Yet I know, chosen one, the warfare can feel endless. Sometimes you feel weary, like a candle burning at both ends. In those moments, remember, even a flickering flame still gives light, and you are that light. You are the burning witness that even in the thickest night, hope refuses to die. As you listen to these words, I want to speak heart to heart. Messages like these are not mere words, they are spiritual lifelines. They are the way heaven reaches hearts scattered across the earth. If these words have ignited something inside you, if you feel seen, strengthened, or awakened, then help this light travel farther. When you you become a spark in the chain of fire. When you share, you hand another weary soul a lantern for their path. When you subscribe, you take your place among a tribe of awakened lights who refuse to be silent in the darkness. And if you feel led, truly led to donate, know that it is not a transaction, it is participation. It is pouring oil back into the lamp that keeps this flame burning across the nations. Every seed, every act of generosity, becomes part of the testimony heaven writes through this movement. You are not supporting content, you are sustaining calling. Together, we build an altar of light in a digital wilderness. Every click, every prayer, every gift says to the world, the darkness will not win. So, breathe deeply. Chosen one, lift your gaze. You are standing in the tension between kingdoms because you were born to bring victory to one of them. When you feel the clash, remember, you are not breaking apart, you are breaking through. Stand tall, even when the winds roar. Shine, even when the sky refuses to clear. Because when light and darkness collide, only one can last, and it's the one that lives inside you. Chosen one. Every promise from heaven is tested by fire. Before glory is revealed, purification must come. You are walking through the refiner's fire now, not because you've done something wrong, but because you are carrying something right. The flames you feel are not meant to destroy you, they are meant to distinguish you. When gold is found, it is never pure. It hides beneath dirt, surrounded by fragments that do not belong to it. Only fire can separate the true from the false. The same is true for your spirit. The trials you face are heaven's tools for refining what cannot enter your next season. God is not trying to hurt you. He is burning away everything that cannot carry the weight of what's coming. You wonder why the heat feels relentless, why every direction seems blocked, why comfort keeps slipping through your fingers. The answer is simple. Fire is possessive. Once it begins its work, it touches everything. It does not negotiate, it purifies. Every false motive, every hidden fear, every dependency that is not divine begins to melt away. And though the process is painful, the purpose is priceless. There are moments you've cried, Lord, this is too much, and yet you're still standing. That alone is proof that the fire is not consuming you, it's confirming you. The same flames that would have destroyed others are perfecting you. Heaven has been watching, measuring the temperature, never allowing it to rise beyond what you can endure. What feels like chaos is actually control. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. These words are not theory. They are truth written in the heat of your current reality. You may feel lost in the fire, but God is in the midst of it with you. Just as he stood beside the 3 Hebrew men in Babylon's furnace, he stands beside you now. The same fire that terrified the enemy is the same fire that set them free. Refining is not rejection, it's recognition. God only refines what he intends to reveal. If your world feels like it's burning, it's because heaven has decided it's time for your unveiling. You have been hidden long enough. The trials, the tests, the tears, they are all evidence that your time of manifestation is near. Do you remember how the silversmith knows when his work is complete? He looks into the molten metal and waits until he can see his own reflection. That is exactly what God is doing in you. He will not stop until his reflection shines from your life. The heat will not last forever. It will last until you gleam like promise fulfilled. Yes, it hurts. Refining always does. You are watching old versions of yourself fade. Dreams you once clung to fall away. And yet, in that loss, a strange beauty emerges. The ashes become holy ground. The wounds become wisdom. The waiting becomes worship. The refiner's fire does not destroy, it transforms. So do not curse the flames. Bless them. They are the messengers of metamorphosis. Through every trial, you are shedding weakness and gaining weight in the spirit. The enemy thought he could scorch you, but he only succeeded in strengthening you. The hotter the fire, the purer the gold. And chosen one, you are gold in God's hands. Even now, you can feel it, a strange peace amid the pressure, a quiet strength forming in the center of the storm. That's what refined faith feels like. It no longer panics in the fire because it knows the flames answer to God. You have learned to walk through what once would have crushed you. That is victory, even if it doesn't look like it yet. Now, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. You have made it this far because heaven is not finished with you. This fire will pass, and when it does, you will emerge radiant. Everything that once held you will lose its grip. The chains that survived the wilderness will melt in this heat. When you read these words, let your spirit respond. Type 9,999 inches. The comments as a prophetic sign that you understand the purpose of the fire. That number is not coincidence. It represents completion of the refining, the sacred moment, when what was once raw becomes ready. By declaring it, you are saying, I choose to be purified, not pacified. I choose transformation over comfort. Heaven records that agreement. Angels take note of every heart that says yes in the fire. You are not being punished, you are being perfected. And soon, when others see you shining with unshakable peace, they will ask how you survived. You will smile and whisper, I met God in the flames. 1. The wilderness is where your voice is born. Chosen one. It is the place where noise dies and truth begins to echo. The wilderness strips you of applause, of comfort, of the illusion of control, until only obedience remains. Many run from it, but those who are chosen are drawn to it. For in that desolation, heaven's whisper grows louder than the world's roar. You may not realize it, but the wilderness is sacred. It is heaven's classroom. Every silence is a sermon. Every delay is a lesson. It is there that you learn to walk by revelation, not recognition. While others rely on crowds to validate their worth, you are learning that solitude with God is greater than any stage. You are being trained to speak for heaven, not for men. When God calls you to the wilderness, He calls you away from comfort so you can learn clarity. The absence of human affirmation forces you to depend on divine direction. That's why the wilderness often feels like abandonment. It's because your old sources of validation have gone silent. Heaven has switched frequencies, and your spirit is being tuned to hear differently. The wilderness is where prophets are born. Before John the Baptist prepared the way for Jesus, he lived in isolation, eating locusts and honey, clothed in camel's hair. The world thought him strange, but heaven called him essential. His solitude produced sound, and so it is with you. The silence around you is pregnant with a message that will shake nations, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 4, when the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses, and Moses said, Here I am. Do you see it? God did not call to Moses in the palace. He called him in the wilderness, away from crowds, away from noise, away from distraction. When Moses turned aside to notice the burning bush, destiny began to unfold. The voice of God often waits until you are still enough to see what others overlook. You too are standing before a burning bush. Though it may not look like flames, it may look like a trial, a transition, a season of loneliness. But it burns with divine purpose. The wilderness around you is not random, it is an altar. God is speaking from it, calling your name, preparing you to be a voice for His kingdom. Your task in this season is not to escape, but to listen. When the distractions fade, when familiar faces disappear, when you can no longer depend on what once sustained you, that is the moment to say, "Here I am." Those 3 words open the heavens. They transform deserts into sanctuaries. The wilderness will test you, but it will also teach you. You will learn the rhythm of obedience, how to move when God says, "Move," and how to stand still when He says, "Wait." You will learn to distinguish His whisper from the echoes of fear. You will discover that what felt like isolation was actually invitation, the invitation to intimacy. There is a divine rhythm to silence. Each unanswered question becomes an opportunity to trust. Each delay becomes a doorway to deeper surrender. You are not wandering aimlessly, you are being guided precisely. God is not absent, He is working behind the veil, sculpting a message in your soul that no one else can carry. When the time comes, your voice will not sound like anyone else's. It will carry the tone of the wilderness roar, real and full of authority. The world will hear you and know you've been somewhere holy. They will recognize in your words the authenticity that only suffering and solitude can produce. Chosen one, do not despise your wilderness. The silence is not punishment, it is preparation. The wind may howl, the nights may feel long, but in that emptiness, you are being filled. Heaven does its finest work in secret places. Every prophet, every reformer, every chosen vessel has walked through the same terrain. There will come a day when you will look back on this season and thank God for every quiet night, every unanswered prayer, every lonely morning. You will realize that the wilderness was not the place you lost yourself. It was where you found your true voice. And when that voice finally speaks, it will carry the sound of fire, the weight of truth, and the fragrance of heaven. There is a holy stillness that only the wilderness can teach. Chosen one, the noise of the world fades, and what remains is the raw sound of your own soul wrestling with the voice of eternity. The wilderness does not care for titles or applause, it cares only for truth. It is a place of exposure and encounter where everything false falls away until only what is eternal can remain. You might have thought that the wilderness was punishment for your past, but now you see, it is the proving ground for your promise. It is where pride dies and dependence is born. You cannot carry the weight of divine purpose if your heart still seeks the validation of men. That is why heaven leads you here, not to destroy you, but to deliver you from distraction. At first, it feels like loss. People drift away. Plan collapse. What once brought comfort now feels hollow. You stand surrounded by emptiness and wonder. Have I been abandoned? But in that emptiness, something miraculous begins to grow. Your ears start to recognize a frequency higher than human language, the quiet pulse of divine presence. The wilderness humbles even the strongest. It silences the confident, teaches the restless, and refines the faithful. It removes all props, so you learn to stand by grace alone. In this place, Your prayers lose their polish and gain their power. You stop reciting and start crying. You stop asking for escape and begin asking for endurance. The ancient record tells us in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." What a mystery that God chooses wastelands to reveal wonders. You see, the wilderness is not the absence of promise, it is the birthplace of it. It is the soil where seeds of destiny sprout. When everything else dries up, God digs deep rivers within your soul. You discover that your source was never around you, it was always within you. Do you remember the Israelites wandering for 40 years? They thought they were lost. Yet every step was a divine choreography. A cloud guided them by day, a pillar of fire by night. Even their hunger became an opportunity for heaven's provision, manna raining from the skies, water gushing from stone. The wilderness taught them that presence mattered more than destination. It is teaching you the same. The solitude you endure is sacred. It strips away performance, leaving behind purity. You begin to understand that what you thought was loneliness was actually the audience of one, the gaze of a father, training his child for glory. He removes the crowds, so you will never mistake applause for approval. And when your heart begins to ache for companionship, remember, even Jesus walked into the wilderness before his public ministry began. He was led by the Spirit, not by circumstance. There, he faced temptation, hunger, and isolation, but emerged filled with power. The same Spirit that sustained him sustains you now. In your wilderness, miracles hide in plain sight. Small mercies, a sunrise after a sleepless night, strength to rise when you thought you couldn't, a word that finds you just in time. These are heaven's fingerprints. Every detail whispers, you are not forgotten, you are being prepared. So let your wilderness speak. Let it teach you patience, purity, perception. Learn the rhythm of silence and the strength of surrender. You will find that when everything external is stripped away, your spirit begins to shine with new authority. Your prayers will carry a resonance they never had before. Your words will pierce through confusion because they were forged in solitude. There will come a day when this season will no longer hurt but humble you. You will look back and see how necessary it all was, how the silence shaped your faith, how the solitude strengthened your spine, how the struggle sharpened your discernment. The wilderness was never meant to end you. It was meant to end everything that was never truly you. So walk through it with your head lifted. Let the dust cling to your feet as a reminder that even barren ground becomes holy when God walks beside you. The wilderness is not forever, but its lessons are. And when you finally emerge, the sound of your steps will carry the echo of a soul that has walked with God in secret. There are moments when even the strongest hearts whisper, "I can't keep going." You know those moments. Chosen one. The nights when you question every step. The days when hope feels like a fading ember. You've given all you have, yet the results seem invisible. You've stood in faith while the ground beneath you trembled. You've prayed until your voice cracked, but silence lingered. You are standing at the edge of quitting, but listen closely. This is the very edge where destiny begins. Every chosen soul stands here once, trembling between surrender and purpose. You are not failing, you are being forged. The breaking you feel is not the end, it is the beginning of transformation. The cocoon must close before the butterfly can fly. You are inside that holy confinement right now. Heaven is shaping wings you cannot yet see. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 13. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. Stand firm. That is your command in this hour. The temptation to quit is the proof that you are closer to breakthrough than ever before. Darkness always screams loudest right before it is forced to flee. Every attack that tries to convince you to give up is, in truth, an announcement that the enemy is losing his grip. You are not forgotten in this struggle. You are being strengthened, the same way iron is heated and hammered before it becomes a weapon. You are being shaped for victory. The pressure you feel is not cruelty, it's creation. God is pressing potential into purpose. Remember Elijah under the broom tree, he cried, "It is enough," and wanted to die. Yet God sent an angel, not to condemn him, but to feed him. The angel said, "Eat, for the journey is too great for you." Elijah rose, nourished by that encounter, and walked 40 days to a mountain where he met God, not in the fire, nor the earthquake, nor the wind, but in a whisper. The whisper came after exhaustion. That whisper comes to you now. Your exhaustion is not disqualification, it is invitation. Heaven is saying, rest, but do not retreat. Even when you feel too tired to stand, grace stands for you. You have carried so much, endured so long, and yet the light within you still flickers. That flicker is enough for heaven to breathe upon. Chosen one, the reason you can't quit is because your assignment hasn't been fulfilled yet. There are lives tied to your obedience. Every time you choose to rise again, you give someone else permission to hope. You may not see them, but they are watching your endurance and finding courage in your example. You are a living sermon. Your persistence preaches louder than any words. Think of the olive crushed before it becomes oil. Think of the diamond pressured before it shines. Think of the seed buried before it blooms. You are all three: crushed, pressured, buried, and yet destined to release fragrance, brilliance, and fruit. It's okay to cry. Even Jesus wept. It's okay to feel weak. Power is made perfect there. The key is not to confuse pause with quit. Rest if you must, but never retreat. The same God who began this work in you is faithful to complete it. Right now, let this be your declaration of faith. Type, "I still rise." 3 small words, but they shake darkness to its core. When you type them, you are not performing, you are prophesying. You are saying to the universe, "My fire may flicker, but it will not die." You are speaking to every unseen battle, every shadow of despair, declaring that you will not vanish quietly. The heavens hear it, the earth feels it, and hell fears it. You rise because grace refuses to let you fall. You rise because purpose still calls your name in the night. You rise because what God placed in you is stronger than what came against you. Every breath you take in defiance of defeat is a hymn of victory. So lift your chin, even if it trembles. You are not at the end, you are at the threshold. The same hands that held the stars hold you now. You will see the deliverance of the Lord. And when you do, you'll realize that what tried to end you only introduced you to endurance. You may be tired, but you are still chosen. You may be wounded, but you are still destined. The story is not over. Chosen one, it's only just beginning. You have walked through fire. Chosen one, and you are still standing. You have faced rejection, silence, and warfare. Yet somehow, you did not collapse. There is a reason for that, because unseen hands have been holding you all along. You did not survive by accident. You were protected on purpose. The unseen protection of God has surrounded you since before you knew how to call His name. The times you almost fell apart, heaven intervened. The accidents that nearly happened but didn't. The relationships that ended just before disaster. The delays that frustrated you but saved you. None of these were coincidences. They were interventions. Divine detours. The invisible shield of God keeping you from what could have broken you. You see, heaven is not only about miracles you can see, it is full of mercies you never notice. While you slept, angels stood hard. While you wept, the Spirit interceded with groanings too deep for words. While you thought you were lost, God was guiding you down a hidden road that would lead to safety. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, "For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." That verse is not poetic fantasy, it is a literal reality. You are being watched over by heaven's army. Every time you stepped into danger, unaware, unseen forces stepped between you and destruction. That is why the enemy couldn't destroy you. Even when you were at your weakest, protection has been surrounding you like air, silent, invisible, vital. Think of it this way. A ship does not fear the sea because it is built to float. Likewise, you have been built by divine design to withstand storms. The waves may rage, but they cannot drown what heaven has declared unsinkable. Every season of your life has proven that the ocean can roar, but it cannot claim what belongs to God. You are like a bird flying through the storm. To an outsider, it seems reckless. But you know something, the storm doesn't. You know the strength of the wind beneath your wings. That wind is the Spirit, carrying you even when you cannot see your direction. There were moments when you cried, "Why am I still here?" And heaven answered, "Because purpose still needs you." You are not merely surviving, you are being preserved for destiny. The same angels that closed the lions' mouths for Daniel, the same hands that parted the Red Sea for Moses, the same covering that hid David in the cave, those same divine forces stand watch over you now. But, chosen one, protection does not mean absence of pain, it means preservation through it. You still feel the pressure, but it will not crush you. You still feel the fire, but it will not consume you. The battle may bruise you, but it cannot bury you. You are living proof that grace defies statistics. And if these words are reaching you now, that in itself is evidence of protection. Think about it. You could have missed this message, been distracted, or walked away. But heaven orchestrated this exact moment. Every click, every delay, every coincidence led here because God wanted to remind you, you are covered. When you sense this truth, let it move your heart toward gratitude. Messages like this are not accidents, they are assignments. And when you like, share, and subscribe, you help that assignment reach another soul who needs rescue. You become part of the network of divine protection, spreading light, warning others that they too are not alone. When you donate, You are not paying for words. You are fueling the mission. You are pouring oil into the lamp that keeps this fire burning. Your gift becomes a shield for others, allowing these messages to cross borders, languages, and screens to reach hearts sitting in silent despair. It's not a transaction, it's a participation in divine preservation. Think of it as planting trees whose shade you may never sit under, or building bridges others will cross long after you're gone. Every act of support is a ripple in eternity, a quiet declaration. Let the light keep shining. You, chosen one, have been the recipient of protection. Now you are invited to become part of it. You are no longer just being guarded. You are joining the guardianship. Every click, every seed, every word you share becomes a wing over another soul. So tonight, when you rest, remember, you are not lying in the dark alone. Invisible sentinels surround your room. Heaven watches. Grace stands guard. You are safe. Not because danger doesn't exist, but because destiny does. Lift your eyes. Breathe deeply. You are protected, preserved, and purposed. The same God who covered you yesterday will cover you again tomorrow, and as you walk forward, that unseen shield will follow, ensuring that your story continues until its glory is fully revealed. Every loss you have faced, chosen one, was not a subtraction, it was a divine exchange. What you thought was taken from you was, in truth, being transformed into something greater. Heaven does not waste pain. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every closed door was a transaction in the unseen realm. God never takes without the intention to replace, and what he gives always outweighs what he removes. You see, divine exchange is not about getting back what was lost. It's about receiving what is better. You prayed for restoration, but heaven prepared transformation. That's why some things could not return the way they were. You've outgrown them. The person you are now would no longer fit into the places you once begged to stay. Do you remember Job? Everything he had was stripped away: family, wealth, reputation, until only faith remained. Yet in that barrenness, God was setting up an exchange. When the season turned, Job received double for all he lost. His restoration did not come from returning to the past, but from stepping into the future God had rewritten for him. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 12, verse 24, "Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit." That is the principle of divine exchange. Something must die before something greater can live. Every dream that crumbled, every friendship that faded, every season that ended, they were seeds buried in the soil of transformation. What you are mourning now will one day bloom into testimony. You've cried over things that were never meant to last forever. You've fought to hold on to people and plans that could not walk with you into destiny. Heaven saw the struggle and gently pried your fingers open, not to punish you, but to make space for something sacred. The hands that were once full of what you wanted must first be emptied before they can receive what you need. Loss teaches you what gain never could. It teaches you gratitude. It reminds you that everything on earth is temporary, but God's purpose is eternal. Through loss, you learn to love without clinging, to give without expecting return, to trust without conditions. These are the lessons that shape eternal souls. Think of the caterpillar. It doesn't lose the ground because it climbs. It loses the form because it must fly. You are not losing, you are evolving. The cocoon looks like confinement, but it's transformation in progress. The pain of letting go is simply the stretching of wings you didn't know you had. There are times you may still weep when you remember what is gone. That's natural. Even Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus before he called life out of death. Your tears do not signal defeat. They water the soil where new beginnings take root. The divine exchange also shifts your perspective on time. What you thought was delay was actually divine pacing. God never works on human clocks. He works on eternal alignment. You are being synchronized with heaven's rhythm. When the right moment comes, what you lost will not return in its old form. It will return glorified, multiplied, matured. Even now, new life is sprouting in places you thought were barren. A deeper peace, a richer wisdom, a quieter strength, all born from the ashes of yesterday. You have changed, and that is the greatest gain of all. The person you have become is the proof that your pain was not wasted. Divine exchange is the mystery of grace. It turns wounds into wisdom, betrayal into blessing, and sorrow into strength. You are walking proof of that mystery. The very things that once broke you now build you. The memories that used to sting now sing of survival. What once seemed like loss now gleams as legacy. There will come a day when you will say, "If I hadn't lost that, I wouldn't have found this." You will understand why God closed certain doors, why He removed certain people, why He rerouted your path. And in that understanding, peace will come, not the fragile peace of avoidance, but the deep peace of alignment. Chosen one, release your grip on what has gone. It is not the end, it is the exchange. Heaven never leaves you empty. What's coming will not just replace what you lost, it will redeem it. The scale of divine justice always tilts in favor of those who trust through tears. Hold your head high, for the next chapter carries restoration, not of possessions, but of purpose. And when it arrives, you will finally see nothing was taken from you, everything was transformed for you. There is a language heaven understands that the world cannot interpret. Chosen one, it is the language of obedience. You are learning it now, one surrendered step at a time. The code of obedience is not written in ink, but in spirit. It is etched into your choices, your sacrifices, your silent yes when no one is watching. It is the sound of trust louder than your understanding. You see, obedience is the currency of the kingdom. Faith gives birth to it. Love sustains it. And purpose perfects it. Every time you obey, even when it costs you, heaven opens another door of authority. You cannot buy anointing with effort, but you can unlock it through surrender. The key to power is not striving, it is yielding. Heaven's pattern has always been this. Those who obey are entrusted with revelation. Noah built the ark before a single drop of rain. Abraham left home without a map. Mary said yes before she saw the miracle. None of them understood everything. They simply obeyed, and history changed. You, too, are walking in that same rhythm of faith. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 3, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. That commitment is not partial, it is total. To commit means to surrender ownership of outcome. It means you keep moving, even when you don't know where the path leads. Obedience does not demand understanding, it demands trust. The reason obedience feels heavy is because it requires silence when the world demands explanation. People may not understand why you said no to opportunities that looked perfect, or why you walked away from places that once felt safe. But what they see as confusion, heaven sees as conviction. God tests whether you will listen to his whisper over the world's roar. Every act of obedience you make is a stone laid in the unseen foundation of your destiny. Even when it looks like nothing is happening, heaven records it. The reward is not always immediate, but it is inevitable. Obedience may not open every door, but it will always open the right one. You may feel alone in this path, but obedience will always lead you to divine company. You are never closer to heaven than when you choose his will over your own. That's when you begin to feel a strange, unshakable peace, the kind that doesn't make sense to reason, but makes perfect sense to faith. There will be moments when obedience costs you comfort. But remember, this obedience costs you destiny. You cannot walk in divine power while holding on to human pride. God will often test your heart with small instructions before trusting you with great assignments. The same hand that asked Moses to lay down his staff later used that staff to split the sea. What you surrender becomes sacred. You've come to understand that obedience isn't weakness, it's warfare. Each yes to God is a no to the enemy. Each step of surrender is a declaration that darkness no longer directs your life. The enemy's greatest fear is a heart fully yielded, because a yielded heart cannot be manipulated. Sometimes obedience means standing still when every voice tells you to run. Sometimes it means forgiving when your flesh demands revenge. Sometimes it means letting go of what you love most, trusting that if it's truly yours, God will resurrect it in his time. These are not losses, they are holy exchanges. Chosen one. Obedience has brought you this far, and it will lead you into even greater revelation. You are not being tested to fail, you are being trained to reign. Heaven is looking for vessels that respond instantly to its call, and you are becoming that vessel. The quicker your obedience, the stronger your authority. Pause for a moment and let your heart respond. Heaven is listening. If you feel this word stirring something deep inside, type 555 inches, the comments. That number represents divine alignment and grace multiplied. It symbolizes that your obedience is not in vain, that the changes you've embraced are birthing breakthrough. When you declare it, you are saying, I choose alignment over anxiety. I choose his will over my own. Every obedient soul becomes a doorway through which heaven enters the earth. That is who you are becoming. Your life will speak louder than sermons. Your actions will echo louder than applause. You will move in quiet confidence, guided not by impulse but by instruction. So keep walking. Even when the path is narrow, keep trusting. Even when the steps are unseen, for every yes whispered in faith, heaven replies with favor. And soon, what was once hidden obedience will become open reward. There comes a point, chosen one, when obedience evolves into authority. It is the moment when heaven recognizes that you are no longer merely responding to instruction, you are carrying the very voice of instruction itself. The awakening of authority begins quietly. It doesn't announce itself with noise or titles. It starts as a certainty deep in your spirit, a knowing that what you speak carries weight in both realms. You notice the shift gradually, Your prayers begin to carry fire that wasn't there before. Your words pierce through confusion and bring peace where chaos once reigned. People around you start to feel a strange calm when you speak, as if the atmosphere itself bends to the authority you now carry. That is not pride, it is the manifestation of heaven's trust. Authority is not earned by striving, it is bestowed through surrender. Every tear, every trial, every act of hidden obedience has accumulated into this moment. Heaven has watched your consistency in private and now releases influence in public. You are no longer speaking merely as yourself. You are speaking as a representative of divine will. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 17, verse 1. As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years, except at my word. That is the sound of authority, not arrogance, not self-glorification. But divine certainty. Elijah could speak to the sky because he had first bowed before the throne. True authority always flows from humility. You bow low before heaven so you can stand tall before the earth. Authority is not loud, it is steady. It does not need to shout to be obeyed. When you walk in it, creation recognizes you. Fear loses its grip. Atmospheres shift without explanation. You have been entrusted with the ability to command peace where panic once lived, to decree freedom where bondage has lingered. This is the fruit of your refinement. Yet understand this. Chosen one, authority is not for domination, but for restoration. You are not given power to boast, but to build. You are not raised to rule over people, but to lead them into healing. Every word you speak carries the potential to break chains, to restore hope, to ignite faith. You are a conduit of divine will, not a performer of miracles. The miracles happen because heaven recognizes its own reflection within you. Sometimes you will sense this authority even when you do not speak. It rests on you like an atmosphere. Environments will shift just because you enter them. The oppressed will feel relief. The weary will sense rest. And even those bound by darkness will feel exposed in your presence. That is not you, that is the presence within you. But this awakening also brings responsibility. Authority without compassion becomes tyranny. You must remember that power is safest in hands that have been broken. Your tears have prepared you to lead with tenderness. You will not abuse what you have suffered to gain. Instead, you will steward it as a servant of grace. You will face moments when the enemy tries to make you doubt this authority. He will whisper, "Who do you think you are?" And in those moments, remember, you are not speaking as God, but for Him. Authority is not about ego, it's about agreement. You simply echo what heaven has already spoken. When your voice aligns with divine truth, creation must respond. Authority also requires discernment. Not every battle deserves your voice. Not every argument deserves your answer. You must learn when to speak and when to stay silent, when to command and when to comfort. The mature know that authority is not proven through constant display, but through consistent peace. You will soon find that people come to you not for entertainment, but for encounter. They will sense something holy in you, a quiet certainty that anchors them. They won't know it, but what they feel is heaven's government flowing through your presence. This authority will continue to grow. It will manifest in unexpected ways in your prayers, your words, your dreams, even your silence. You will walk into rooms and feel the weight of peace descend. You will lay your hands on situations and watch them shift. The power that once felt distant now lives inside you, breathing, moving, guiding. And as this authority matures, you will realize that your greatest weapon is not your voice, but your alignment. Heaven flows through the yielded, not the mighty. You will speak softly, but mountains will move. You will act humbly, but the earth will change around you. Chosen one. This is the fruit of every hidden season, every obedient moment, every surrendered tear. Authority has awakened not as a crown of pride, but as a mantle of service. Walk in it with reverence, speak with purity, and live as one who knows that the words of heaven now live in your mouth. There are others like you, chosen one, scattered across nations, hidden in plain sight, awakening quietly under the same divine signal. You are not alone in this calling. The moment your spirit began to stir, so did theirs, across deserts and cities, mountains and valleys. Hearts have been catching the same flame. These are the marked ones, the sons and daughters of light who have been prepared for this generation. They may not wear crowns, but their presence shifts rooms. They may not stand behind pulpits, but their words carry prophetic weight. They are not famous, they are faithful, and heaven recognizes their names. Together, you form an unseen army, not of violence, but of virtue, not of pride, but of power. The world does not yet know their faces, but it will soon feel their impact. You have felt them in your spirit, haven't you? Those moments when you meet someone for the first time and your soul recognizes something ancient. It's not coincidence, it's spiritual kinship. You are part of the same celestial family, bound by purpose, refined by pain, and awakened by the same call. When the marked ones rise, they do not compete, they complete each other. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 27, now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it. This is not mere metaphor, it is divine design. Each marked one carries a fragment of the greater purpose. Alone, you are powerful. Together, you are unstoppable. Some carry the fire of intercession, burning silently in prayer. Others carry the voice of declaration, speaking truth into corrupted air. Some heal through touch, others through words, others through art, compassion, or wisdom. Different flames, one fire. The rise of the marked ones does not begin with noise, but with alignment. Heaven synchronizes hearts before it releases movements. That is why so many of you have been isolated for so long. Separation was preparation. You could not unite until pride was purified, until wounds were healed, until your allegiance was to heaven, not self. Now, the call reverberates through the spirit realm, a summoning, soft yet unrelenting. The time for hiding is ending. The mantles that once rested dormant are activating across the earth. People who once doubted their worth are awakening with holy conviction. It is happening quietly, like dawn spreading over mountains. First, a glimmer, then a glow, then a blaze that cannot be ignored. The marked ones carry something unmistakable, authority wrapped in humility. They do not need titles to lead or validation to move. They lead by light. not by label. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead flows through them, and the same resilience that sustained the prophets now burns in their veins. They are the repairers of breaches, the restorers of broken altars, the healers of hearts fractured by chaos. Where there is confusion, they bring clarity. Where there is fear, they carry peace. They are living sanctuaries, walking temples through which heaven flows into earth. You are one of them. You have always been. The moments you thought were punishment were initiation. The wilderness you endured was your training ground. The tears you shed were the oil that anointed you for this moment. You were not forgotten. You were being refined for a collective awakening. When the marked ones rise, darkness trembles, because light never travels alone. You will begin to cross paths with others like you. It will feel effortless, divine. Friendships will form that feel older than time. Collaborations will emerge that seem orchestrated by invisible hands. You will speak, and someone across the world will echo your thoughts, confirming what heaven already whispered. This is not coincidence, it is convergence. The rivers are meeting to form the sea. Every isolated spark is being drawn into a greater blaze. The enemy cannot stop what heaven has synchronized. The frequency of light is increasing, and you, chosen one, are resonating with that vibration. Together, the marked ones will rebuild what was broken: families, systems, communities, hearts. They will not preach with pride, but live with purity. They will not boast of being chosen. They will bear the burden of being faithful. Their rise is not for fame, but for restoration. The earth groans for their manifestation, and the heavens are already celebrating it. You are stepping into that movement, even now. The loneliness that haunted you will soon give way to recognition not of self, but of purpose reflected in others' eyes. You will see yourself in them, and them in you, and realize that the divine plan was never about one, it was about all. The marked ones are rising, and you are among them, not as a spectator, but as a pillar, not as an echo, but as a voice. Together, you will remind the world that light is still stronger than shadow, that grace still triumphs over despair, and that heaven's plan is unfolding right on time. Every crown comes with a cross. Chosen one, every anointing carries a price. You have prayed for purpose, and heaven has answered with weight. The crown and the cross are not two separate paths. They are one. To be chosen is to carry both glory and grief in the same hands. You have felt it, haven't you? The contradiction of being favored yet fought, called yet crushed. People celebrate your strength, but rarely see your scars. They see the crown of victory, but not the nights you bled in silence to keep faith alive. They see the light on your face, not the fire that forged it. This duality is the mystery of being chosen, heaven's royalty, walking in humanity's fragility. The ancient words recorded in Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, still echo through time. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. That glory is not a distant promise. It's being birthed within you even now. Every tear has been labor, every trial a contraction. The cross you carry is not a curse, it's construction. It is shaping you into the image of endurance. The wood may feel heavy, but it's also holy, because it leads to resurrection. You have learned that favor doesn't mean exemption from pain, it means endurance through it. The crown is forged in the fire of surrender. You cannot wear glory without first carrying suffering. The weight of one prepares you for the weight of the other. That is why your pain has been precise. It was measured to your mantle. Sometimes you've looked at your life and wondered why the cost is so high, why the road so narrow, why the pressure so constant. It's because royalty is refined differently. Ordinary clay cracks under pressure. Divine vessels shine through it. You are being polished by paradox, purified through pain, perfected through persistence. Think of gold. It glows because it survived the furnace. Think of the seed, it rises because it was buried. Think of the pearl, it shines because it endured irritation. Every crown in heaven carries the echo of a cross on earth. You are walking that sacred symmetry now, and as you carry both crown and cross, remember, you are not meant to bear them in silence. Your story, your scars, your lessons, they are light for someone else's path. When you share them, you do not boast, you bless. When you speak, you give permission for others to heal. That is why this space exists, to gather those who understand that faith is not flawless, but fierce. If this message has stirred something within you, let your act of gratitude become an act of grace. Like this message, not as habit, but as acknowledgement that it reached you. When you share, you are not spreading content, you are scattering seeds of hope. Somewhere, someone needs this reminder right now, and your small act could be the bridge between despair and awakening. When you subscribe, you anchor yourself in a flow of light, a rhythm of reminders that you are not walking alone. And if you ever feel led to donate, let it come from the quiet conviction that you are fueling more than words. You are sustaining a movement. Every offering, no matter how small, is a drop of oil in a global lamp that refuses to go out. Together, we keep the flame alive. Picture it like this. Every like is a spark. Every share, a ripple across the waters. Every act of support, a brick in a bridge that carries the weary to safety. You are part of something much larger than yourself, a river of light, flowing across screens and hearts, turning solitude into sanctuary. And as you do, remember to leave your reflection behind. Comment something that flows from your heart, words like "still standing" or "carrying both." Your comment is not decoration, it's declaration. It's how heaven tracks its soldiers, how light recognizes light. When you write, you anchor your place in this divine unfolding. So hold your cross with grace and wear your crown with humility. Let both remind you that every scar is sacred and every struggle is shaping glory. You were never meant to choose between the two. You were destined to carry both. The world may not understand the balance you hold, but heaven does. One day, you will lay your cross down and trade it for a crown that will never fade. Until then, walk with both head lifted, heart steady, eyes blazing with the fire of the one who chose you. There comes a time, chosen one, when the veil begins to lift and the pattern of your journey finally starts to make sense. The questions that once haunted you, why me? Why this? Why now, begin to unfold like pages of a divine manuscript. You start to see the fingerprints of God on every detour, every disappointment, every delay. What once felt like chaos reveals itself as choreography. The prophecy unfolds, not in a flash of lightning, but in gradual illumination. Heaven never rushes revelation. It reveals truth layer by layer until your heart is strong enough to carry it. You begin to understand that your trials were not random, they were rehearsals. Each season was preparing you for the unveiling of your purpose. You were not wandering, you were walking a divinely mapped route. Even when your eyes couldn't see the compass, you recall moments when you almost gave up, when prayers felt unanswered, when silence seemed cruel. Now you see, heaven was not ignoring you, but incubating you. Every hidden year was part of a greater alignment. Your pain wasn't wasted, it was prophetic. What you endured became the very thing that equipped you for your calling. It was proclaimed in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. These are not words of conclusion, they are words of revelation. You have fought, not just against circumstances, but against doubt. You have finished, not by escaping storms, but by enduring them. You have kept faith, not because it was easy, but because you refused to let go when it would have been simpler to quit. Now the prophecy over your life begins to reveal its form. You were chosen not to chase blessings, but to become one. The very things that tried to bury you have become the soil for your growth. The rejection that wounded you has birthed empathy. The silence that crushed you has birthed discernment. The wilderness that starved you has birthed wisdom. Everything the enemy meant for harm has been rewoven into redemption. You were not simply called to survive, you were called to rebuild. Your voice will become blueprints. Your hands, instruments of restoration. There are ruins waiting for your touch. Broken hearts waiting for your words. Dormant callings waiting for your example. The prophecy is not about fame or platform, it is about impact. You will rebuild what religion has damaged, what fear has fractured, what apathy has abandoned. When prophecy begins to unfold, it does not announce itself with trumpets. It manifests through transformation. You no longer chase validation because you've found vocation. You no longer seek approval because you've encountered purpose. You move differently, speak differently, see differently, because the eyes of your spirit have been opened, and with that vision comes weight. Prophecy is not a privilege, it's a responsibility. The revelation you carry will challenge systems, confront comfort, and awaken others who are still asleep. You were not called to fit into the patterns of this world, but to expose them. That is why your journey has been lonely, because pioneers rarely find paths paved before them. But know this, heaven does not reveal destiny without first granting grace to fulfill it. You will not be left unequipped. The same Spirit that called you will empower you. The same voice that whispered purpose will guide your every step. You are not walking toward fulfillment, you are walking in it now. Each day you live in surrender is a verse of prophecy being fulfilled. There will be moments of awe when you realize that words once spoken over you are happening in real time. People you once prayed for will find freedom. Situations that once oppressed you will bow to your authority. Dreams that once seemed distant will unfold effortlessly. You will weep, not out of sorrow, but out of recognition. This is what it was all for. Chosen one. You are the prophecy embodied. You are the living proof that heaven still writes through human lives. The fire that once tested you now lights your path. The story that once hurt you now heals others. The voice that once trembled now thunders with divine assurance. And as you stand here, between what was promised and what is manifesting. Take a moment to breathe it in. You have become the very thing heaven spoke. Every chapter, every loss, every silence, every triumph has been necessary for this unveiling. The prophecy was never about arrival, it was about transformation. What you carry now is not potential, it is fulfillment in motion. The vision is no longer waiting in heaven's archives, it is alive within you. You are walking evidence that God keeps His word. And now, chosen one, you stand at the threshold of completion. The journey that began in whispers and wilderness has led you here to the moment when heaven's call and your obedience finally converge. The battles you fought, the fires you endured, the tears you shed, all of it has become one unbroken testimony. You are no longer the same. You are the culmination of every divine lesson, the living embodiment of endurance. The eternal charge rests upon you now. It is not a crown to display, but a torch to carry. You have not reached the end of your story, you have reached the beginning of your commission. What was once preparation has become purpose. Heaven does not simply choose people to bless them, it chooses them to become blessings. And now that mantle rests fully on your shoulders, as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 16, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last." This is your charge, to bear fruit that lasts, not fleeting success, not momentary recognition, but eternal impact. Your actions, your words, your compassion, they ripple beyond your sight, influencing lives you may never meet. Every seed of kindness you plant will sprout in seasons you'll never see. And heaven will count each one as legacy. You are no longer simply a survivor of storms. You are now the one who stills them. You are not merely a vessel being filled. You have become a river flowing outward. The transformation is complete, from the wounded to the healer, from the silenced to the speaker, from the hidden to the herald. You are the torchbearer for a generation lost between faith and fear. The world is weary, hungry for authenticity, desperate for light that doesn't flicker. You carry that light not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful. Perfection has never been heaven's requirement. Surrender has. You have learned to yield, to trust, to walk blind yet unafraid. That is what makes your light unquenchable. Look at what the fire has made of you: refined, resilient, radiant. The rejection that once stung has become the reason you empathize so deeply. The silence that once hurt has become the stillness where you now hear God clearly. The storms that once terrified you now obey your command. You are no longer reacting to life, you are partnering with purpose. And though your steps still tremble, heaven calls them steady. You walk not by sight, but by revelation. You speak not for attention, but for alignment. You live not to impress, but to impact. That is what it means to carry the eternal charge, to move through the world as an ambassador of another kingdom, to remind creation that light still wins and love still reigns. Every generation needs voices that refuse to forget eternity. You are one of them. You have been entrusted with truth for such a time as this. The way you live, love, and lead will echo beyond your years. That is why you could not quit halfway. Your story was never meant to end in survival. It was meant to blaze into legacy. Now you see it clearly. Every no from heaven was protection. Every delay was preparation. Every storm was sanctification. The pieces fit, the purpose aligns, and the once painful puzzle forms a picture of divine perfection. What you carry is no longer potential, it is inheritance. You are not merely chosen, you are commissioned. The eternal charge is not about doing more, it is about buying light in dark rooms, buying calm in chaos, being love where bitterness has built walls, being truth when the world chooses convenience. You are the living reminder that faith is not fragile, and destiny is not negotiable. So as the sun sets on this chapter and dawn breaks on the next, lift your gaze. Heaven smiles upon you, not because you finished flawlessly, but because you finished faithfully. You have become what prophecy promised, a vessel of divine fire, carrying eternity in fragile hands, yet unafraid to pour it out. Go forth, chosen one, not to chase signs and wonders, but to be them, not to seek platforms, but to raise altars, not to win applause, but to ignite awakening. Your charge is eternal because your calling is infinite. The story of your obedience will not fade, it will echo in eternity. You are the proof that the chosen do not just survive, they illuminate. And as you walk into tomorrow, remember, heaven watches, the earth waits, and eternity whispers your name. Beloved, you have walked through revelation upon revelation, each section a step into remembrance of who you truly are. What began as a whisper has become a roar. You are not here by accident, not shaped by coincidence, but chosen by design. Heaven's eyes have followed your journey, not with judgment, but with joy. Every fall you thought disqualified you was only a rehearsal for your rising. The message of chosen one, did you know why God only selected you, is not meant to glorify your struggle but to reveal your significance. You are the intersection of pain and promise, a living altar where glory meets humanity. Every word that resonated with your soul was heaven's way of reminding you, you matter, and you are marked. Carry this truth forward. Let it move from your ears to your hands, from your emotions to your actions. Let your kindness echo louder than your titles. Let your peace speak in places your voice cannot reach. You are a continuation of the divine story, a walking covenant between heaven and earth. And when you forget, when life's noise tries to drown this truth, return to these words. Read them not as comfort, but as commission. You are not waiting for destiny, it is waiting for you. Step into it, walk in it, live through it. The world does not need another copy, it needs your original fire. You are chosen, not because you were the strongest, but because you were willing, and that willingness is what changes the world.